Well, everybody, we want to welcome everybody to our open enrollment for this year. We're going to be discussing a couple of new things, exciting things with benefits, and what benefit plan is going to look like for the year 2020. So to talk a little bit about that, we have our different teams, and then also Carol, who's going to talk to us about some enhancements happening for this coming year.
Great, thanks, Louise. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to thank you for coming to our 2020 open enrollment. We've got a great panel of speakers lined up to talk to you about our new benefits this year. One of the things, before we get started, I wanted to bring your attention to page 17 in your booklet. It talks about the employee match program. So right now, the company has generously, they're going to donate between $50 and $250 as an employee match to a program for a charitable gift program. So if you have any questions about that, just read through it, and then you can call HR as a company staff. Also on page 18, we have the Read Community Service Day. We want to make sure you guys all take advantage of that. The company will donate 8 hours of your time. If you have, there's a charitable company out there that you want to donate 8 hours to, the company will pay 8 hours of your time to help allow you to give back to the community. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Debbie Souza. Last year, we had questions about Medicare and retirement, so we do have a representative here that will discuss any questions you have with Medicare. So that I'll give it to Debbie Souza.
Thank you. My name is Debbie Souza. I think we've said it now 3 times. I am with Souza Insurance Services. I am a local broker out of Modesto. One of the things I am here to talk about is Medicare. I have a little newsletter, and I'm going to leave them here with HR, and I'm going to leave some copies here talking about Medicare for people who are 62, 63, 64 years old, thinking about looking down retirement in the future. What are the timelines for those types of things? One of the things that you enroll in would be your Medicare health plan, and looking at that about 90 days before you decide that you want to pull the trigger and either stop working or continue working, and weigh your options between what your health plan costs are and what Medicare's costs would be. So what I did is I put a little bit of information together. There's a lot of information you have to get today, so I put this together for you, and it has my information. I am happy to sit down with a group of staff or people on an individual basis. This wouldn't mean just for you as employees. If you have a spouse that is turning 65, if you have a spouse that is receiving Medicare due to disability, any of those options we can look at to see whether the costs will, what is beneficial for you in your pay deductions versus what the costs are for traditional Medicare and those plans, so we can help you keep more money in your pocket. So that's really all I have. I just wanted to just give a little bit, give you guys an introduction, and make sure that we can help you keep your paychecks and help you enhance your benefit programs. Thank you.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm going to hold this to make sure everybody on the computer can hear me okay. It's like a microphone. I am Jenny with Cutler Investment Group. A lot of you, we've been managing the plan for many, many years, so a lot of you are familiar with me. I also have my colleague Hugo here with me, so we're going to stick around after insurance. If any of you want to meet one-on-one to review your account, we're going to be here to do that with you. For those of you who are online, our contact information will be at the end, and you can take down our number and call us any day to help you with your questions. But before I talk about the plan specific, I like to start off with some retirement statistics because, we're talking about retirement and how important it is to save for retirement. So currently, only 58% of Americans are saving for retirement. So there is a retirement deficit out there. And of those, 48% have less than $10,000 saved for retirement. In addition to that, the average account for those 65 and older have $126,000 saved for retirement. So even if your house is paid off and you're an extreme couponer, it'd be really hard to live off $126,000 for 30 plus years, right? So it's really important to save for retirement. So on that note, some highlights of your plan and how it helps you save for retirement. You are eligible to participate in the plan as long as you've worked here for 1 month and you're over the age of 18. Is everybody in the plan currently? Is anybody new here who isn't in the plan? All right, so you're probably somewhat familiar with it. For 2020, the age limit has been, the contribution has been increased to $19,500. So $19,500. This is a bit, can everybody hear me in the back? Okay, good. It's a bit, some people think that you can only contribute 3% because you auto-enroll at 3%. However, you can contribute $19,500, and if you're over the age of 50, you can contribute an additional $6,500. That's a lot of money. Most people don't max it out, but I think it's really important to emphasize how much you can save. If you guys didn't have this program and you wanted to open up an IRA at a local bank, all you could save is $6,000. So it's a huge benefit that the company is giving you that opportunity. In addition to that, they give you 6%. It's not a match. They give you 6%. They put 3% into the 401k and 3% into your pension. So again, the company values you as employees and they're giving you 6%. So they're kickstarting your retirement funds. As I mentioned, you're auto-enrolled at 3%. How many of you know what you're contributing to the plan? If you don't, you're probably contributing 3% because you auto-enrolled at that 3%. So it's really important to take a minute and see what you are contributing to the plan. Vesting means ownership. So the money that the company gives you, the 3% they put in the 401k is yours as soon as they put it in the account. So if you're working here, you only end up working here for 7 months, you separate from service for some unknown reason, not because your benefits aren't good enough, clearly. But if you leave here for some reason, you would get that 3%. It's yours. The 3% that went into the pension, you have to work for the company for 2 years in order for that money to become yours. They value you as employees, but they also want you to value them as an employer. So you have to work for 2 years before that money becomes yours. So I'm going to take just a minute to talk about the Secure Act. We've gotten quite a few questions about it because it's a new law that went into place as of December 31st. It covers a lot of things, but there's a few items that are specific to retirement. And one of those was the change in RMDs. So required minimum distributions, they changed the age from 70 and a half to 72. However, if you are still working for the company and you are 72, you don't have to take a required minimum distribution. If this is applicable to anybody of this age, you can talk to me and we can talk about it personally. But also, a big change is part-time employees are now allowed to defer to a 401k. They didn't used to be. You used to have to work 1,000 hours in order to defer. Now, if you're working 500 hours, you are eligible to defer. So if that is applicable to anybody who's interested in saving, see me and we can work that out. Those are some of the big changes on the Secure Act and how it impacts retirement. So there's lots of benefits to saving for retirement, many reasons why you need to do it. Most specifically, I talked about there's a retirement deficit. People aren't saving enough. Your company is giving you 6%, but you'll see later when I talk about percentages, we really need to save more than 6%, so you need to kind of put something in as well. The retirement, the savings, your investments are geared towards retirement. So they're automatically, you're investing in things that are appropriate for your time horizon to help you retire on time. And I'll talk more about that. But lots of benefits on why you need to save for retirement. Now, it is late in the afternoon. And I'm not going to try to make you guys fall asleep, but I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about taxes. So you have two options in this plan. You can defer pre-tax or Roth after tax. Pre-tax has the potential to lower your taxable income. If you are single and making $40,000, you're in a 12% tax bracket. If you start making $46,000, you just jump from a 12% tax bracket to a 22% tax bracket. You take $6,000 pre-tax and put it in your 401k, you just drop yourself back down to a 12% tax bracket, right? In addition to that, not changing tax brackets alone, if you have a household making $70,000, you have the potential to save 25%. Your tax bill could go down by 25%. If you save 10%, that'd be $7,000 you put into your 401k. That could be an approximate saving of $1,750 on your tax bill. So there is some benefits to pre-tax. On the flip side of that, we've got Roth. If you are contributing after-tax dollars to your 401k, they take the taxes out today, you make that contribution. Same example, you put $7,000 into your 401k, it grows tax-free, you now have $100,000 in retirement, you take out that full $100,000 without paying any taxes on it because you already paid your taxes. So flip side, it's just, do you want the tax benefit today or in the future? There are pros and cons to both. Another benefit of a Roth within a 401k, a Roth IRA, you can only contribute $6,000 to. A 401k, you can contribute $19,500. So definitely, you know, even if you're not maxing that out, but you want to put in 7, you have more flexibility in the Roth 401k to contribute more than the limits of a regular one at the bank. So lots of benefits. I know taxes can be confusing, so if you want to sit down and work through your personal scenarios, I'd be happy to help you with that. So that being said, there's many reasons why you need to start saving for retirement. I don't want you to count on Social Security. Now, I'm not debating whether Social Security is going to be around or not when we retire. What I'm saying is Social Security is only designed to support approximately 30% of your income. That being said, how much do you defer each paycheck to Social Security? 12.4%. You put in 6.2 and the company puts in 6.2. So every pay period, we're dumping in 12.4% to Social Security. And on average, people only save 3.5% for retirement. So it's really important that we're putting money aside to our retirement, and I don't want Social Security to be your only plan for retirement. Spending now means you'll pay for it later. Obviously, you spend your money today, you won't have it in the future. The more you put away, the more opportunity you have for that compounding effect, interest on interest, in addition, market growth. So it's really important that you have your money in your account working for you. And last, this is one thing you have complete control over, right? There's a lot of things out there we can't control, but we can control how much we want taken out of our paycheck for retirement. So we can't control what Social Security takes, but we can control what we put in our own retirement. That being said, one of the most common questions I get is, am I on track? Have I saved enough money for retirement? This chart here helps guide you to that point. So for example, if you are 40 years old and make $50,000, your factor is 1.7. You take, 40, 50, your factor is 1.7. You take $50,000 times 1.7, that person should have $85,000 saved for retirement. Maybe you have more, maybe you have less, but this is a guideline on how much you should have saved in order to retire on time. Does that make sense? So this is a love-hate relationship I have with this chart because it's really helpful, except unless it tells you you're short. So, but this is a great place to start to see if you're on track. The other question I get is, what percentage should I be saving? This chart is great. Anywhere on here, does anybody see 3%? No, right? The average saved is 3.5%, yet the youngest person starting out their career making $40,000 should be saving 7%. So people need to save more for retirement. And obviously, the later you're starting, the more you're going to need to save. So same example, you're 40 years old, making $50,000. That person should be saving 16% of their income. Lucky for you guys, your company is giving you 6%, so you would only need to save 10% in that example to get you on track to retire on time. So again, these are just guidelines, kind of giving you an idea on how much you should be saving, but keep in mind you auto-enroll at 3%. There weren't very many hands raised for knowing how much you are contributing. So chances are you are contributing 3%. Maybe it's time to evaluate to see if you should be contributing a little more to your retirement. Now, when you invest your money, do that through these target date funds. These target date funds target the year you plan on retiring. So if you're planning on retiring in 5 years, you would want to invest in our target 2025, right? Year 2025. If you are very young, starting out your career, you would default to the age appropriate 2065. Below the pie chart, you see the years. That is the years of your birth. So it gives you a category of kind of where you default to and your age appropriate strategy. That doesn't mean that's what you have to go into. That just means it's the appropriate amount of risk for that time horizon to retire at age 65. So again, you can choose to be more aggressive or more conservative. If the market makes you really nervous and you want to be conservative and you're 25 years old, you can do that. You have that flexibility. But again, if you auto-enrolled and have never gone online to log in, you've defaulted to your age-appropriate strategy. So that's, oh, and the great thing about these strategies, you can set it and forget it. So they automatically get more conservative as retirement gets closer. You don't have to worry about, hey, I'm retiring now in 5 years. Do I need to make my portfolio more conservative? No, we automatically do that for you. These are what we call active managed funds. They're actively managed. Our portfolio managers are making adjustments when necessary to these. You don't have to worry about it. Now that was for the 401k. The pension has 3 investment choices. And what's super important about this is if you don't elect an investment choice for the pension, you default to the most conservative strategy, the balanced income. How many of you know what your pension is invested in? That means you are invested in the balanced income, which is fine. It's a conservative strategy, so it's great to default to the most conservative strategy. However, there may be a situation, you may be 20 years old and you want to be taking on more risk. You need to go in and actively change that or meet with us and we can make that adjustment for you. Performance of these funds, on average, over the past 5 years, the conservative strategy has returned about 5%, and the more aggressive strategy has returned over 8%. So on average, including 2018, a down year, and last year up 26%, on average, these accounts are returning over 5%. So goals for you guys is to meet with us. If today doesn't work, to sit down and review your account, take my card, take Hugo's card, give us a call down the road and review your portfolio. Even if you met with us last year, taking just a temperature check, making sure you're still on track, saving however much you want to be saving. If you don't want to sit down with us, at least think about increasing your contributions. A lot of you have auto-enrolled at that 3%. Think about bumping it up 1%. The great thing about changing your contributions is you can change them at any time. This isn't like healthcare open enrollment where you have once a year to make this change. You increase it 5% today and you realize it was a little too much and you want to go down to 4% next month, you can do that. You have complete flexibility to go up and down every month. You can make those changes. And evaluate your allocation. Nobody raised their hand knowing what the pension is invested. So take a minute to look what you're invested in. Make sure you invested in what you thought you invested. I met with a gentleman who was in his early 20s who invested in the 2025 because that's this year and I'm young. And he thought he was going in the most aggressive strategy. He had them backwards. So just make sure you're investing in what you thought you were investing in. You have online access to your account. Has anybody ever logged in online? Well, it is a great resource, and we're around to help you with that login. Online, you can change your salary deferrals. So if you're working a bunch of overtime and you have a big check coming and you want to defer more that following pay period, you can make that change online. You want to change your investment strategy, you can do that online. You can apply for a loan online. Your statements are available online. If you're buying a new house and they need a statement from your 401k, they're all available online. So Most importantly, you got to update your beneficiaries online. So life happens, things change. We get divorced, we get married, we have kids. How many times you have a life-changing event and don't think, oh yeah, I need to change my beneficiary on my 401k. Honestly, it's not the first thing that comes to mind with a lot of people. So take a minute, fill out your beneficiary, make sure your money's going to who you want it to go to. So some general frequently asked questions I like to touch on. Oh, so Hugo just made the comment that the beneficiaries for this is not the same beneficiaries for your life insurance. So if you went into VBAS and made your updates to your beneficiary, that doesn't translate to your 401k. So you do have to update beneficiaries in multiple spots. If you have a 401k from another employer, can you roll it in? Most definitely. If you have one, I recommend sending me the statement so I can do an analysis. Make sure your fees, what your fees are, what the expense ratios are, and if it makes sense to roll it into this plan. I can do that evaluation for you. And if it does make sense and you decide you want to, I will hold your hand and help you with the process, because it can be confusing. You can make changes to your investments or your contributions at any point in time. Now I feel like I'm yelling. Sorry, guys. People on the phone, I'm sorry if I'm yelling in your ear. If you have an emergency, do you have access to your money? Yes, you do. The key word there is your money. I've already emphasized that your company is amazing and they give you 6%, right? But if you've
So they give you 3, you put in 3 of your own, you put in more, do they match that?
It is not a match. They give you 6%.
3's tops
They give you 6.
for the 401k.
Yep, they put in
6, 3 goes to pension.
correct. It is not a match. They are giving you 6%, 3 to the 401k, 3 to the pension. You put in 1, they give you 3. You put in 12, they give you 3 in the 401k. So on that note about emergency accessing your money, in case of an emergency, the keyword there is your money. Let's say you started here 15 years ago and you opted out and you've never contributed and you have $100,000 in your account and you want to take a loan. And I have to tell you, I'm sorry, you don't have any money in your account to take a loan. It's a really hard conversation to have with people because they're looking at their statement saying, I have $100,000. But if you didn't contribute anything, you are not eligible to take that as a loan. It's all the company money and market growth. So if you have questions and want to access your money, pick up the phone and call me. We can work through different scenarios on what is an option. So, yeah.
And what percentage are you allowed to borrow?
You can borrow up to 50% of your account, maxing out at $50,000. So if you have $200,000, you could only still take $50,000. How much can you contribute? Does anybody remember how much you can contribute to a 401k? Sorry, the guy on the phone doesn't get it, but in the corner we had 19,000. 19,500. Hugo, give him a cup. I know, but you chose not to come to the site, so you don't get this awesome glow in the dark.
I live in Southern California.
I live in Oregon. I made it. But yes, you can contribute 19,500, and if you're over 50, it's an additional 6,500. And when can you meet with an advisor? Anytime. We're around. Obviously, for you down in Southern California, you can give us a call at another point in time. But we are available. Typically, out of sight, out of mind. If we're not in front of you, you guys don't think about it. But stick around, meet with us while you're here, or take our card and call us when you have an opportunity. Because even if it's just, hey, this is what I'm invested in, I'm contributing 10%, I've got my bennies, everything look good. Yes, it's a 3-minute conversation. At least you checked in and we did that. So it's worth your time because this is your money. Yes.
Are we still paying 1% for you to manage it, or has Basic picked up the percentage to manage the account?
The question was, are you paying a fee? There is a fee. So to run a 401k, there's third-party administration, there is record keeper, and there is investment management. All of those fees in total are a little less than 1%. That fee is paid by the participants. It is not paid by Basic. Basic gives you 6%, and you pay a fee of a little less than 1%. So on that note, I mean, you have this great plan. It's automatic. You don't have to think about it. You pick your deduction. It comes right out of your paycheck. You have your money grows tax deferred. You have lots of investment choices to choose from. And more importantly, you have professional expertise at your fingertips. As highlighted, you're paying for this service. Take advantage of it. Whether you need help planning for your retirement or you want advice on saving for college, opening a 529, refinancing your house, we can help you with any of your financial questions. We have certified financial planners on staff, and as part of the service of being a client of ours, we will help you with any of your financial needs. So that's it in a nutshell. That's retirement, passionate about it, and I hope you guys have a minute or two to meet with us and talk about your plan. Thank you guys. Any questions? All right, then I will pass it off to insurance. Thank you. Give me a second.
Hi guys, my name is Rick. This is Julie from Mandrini and Company. We're talking about your
Hold on, I don't know if I'm sure.
new benefits, which are beginning on April 1. Okay, so we are in open enrollment. Open enrollment in the past has always been up through March 1. If you remember last year, we migrated to April 1 to benefit those that come back during March, who always had to come back after the plan renewed. And so they didn't really have any chance to make good decisions. They didn't have a chance to be educated on the new offering. So we're making that transition right now, and it's a little bit bringing a little bit of complexity that won't impact, probably will not impact you, but we're going to highlight how what that looks like by making that transition from March 1 to April 1. So open enrollment, you need to make your decisions by March 15th. So you have a couple weeks to do that. All carriers are remaining the same, so that's really good news. So we still have Cigna. If you're with Cigna, those plans are available, as well as we have Kaiser. Now, with Cigna, we have 2 additional offerings, okay? They're not new plans, but they're the same exact plans as you currently have, but but the 2 of them are with a new network. So it's still with Cigna. It is a more narrow network. It's called the Local Plus network. I want you to pay close attention to when we talk about that. If you're on the HSA, you have an HSA option, exactly the same, with a few less doctors. What do you think that means to you? Less doctors, less choice, less money, okay? So for me, all of the doctors are in the narrow network. I would take that if I were you. For you, it might be different. So we'll talk about how to check and see if that makes sense for you. Couple of other good things. We're increasing the frames and contact allowance. It's been $130. That's going up to $180. So that's an extra benefit. Also, a hearing aid benefit of up to $1,000. So if you go purchase hearing aids, you can be reimbursed up to $1,000. So if you spend $3,000, you turn that in and HR will pick up 1,000.
As long as you're enrolled in the Cigna Vision Plan.
That's every 5 years on that piece. Yep. Good question.
And for what? No, it's for a hearing aid itself.
A couple other things too.
Did you say that they have to be enrolled in the vision plan?
You have to be enrolled in the vision plan. Does that make sense? Vision plan to get your hearing aids. That doesn't make sense, but it's true. So,
And it's because there's a hearing aid discount program attached to your vision plan. So by using that program, you can make your dollars go further.
we've added two new voluntary plans this year. They are pet insurance that is becoming more and more popular. So you want to pay attention to those two offerings. And then we're also adding smoking cessation programs. So same plans as last year, but if you're with Cigna, you have the choice of moving to the local plus to save some premium. Kaiser HRA is the same as you've had for quite a bit of time, with a slight change that's a good change that we'll talk about when we get to that part. Regardless of the plan, doctors come in and out of network all the time. We suggest, since once a year you can make these decisions, sometimes doctors don't recontract with a certain carrier. So you'll want to check with your doctors to make sure that they're still in network. If your doctor's at Kaiser and he's still at Kaiser, then you're all set at Kaiser. So Julie's going to talk about what do you need to do right now.
Okay, so if you, anyone who is eligible for benefits needs to turn in a deduction form, and that's the blue form that looks like this. And then if you're signing up for the HSA, on the back side of this form, it has the amount that goes into your bank account, your HSA bank account. And so you have to fill out the back of this form as well. Also, if you are enrolling, you have to go to VBAS if you're making any changes, or if you're enrolling in the FSA or the HSA. Every year you have to make a new election. Yes.
So if we already have insurance and everything, roll over and have to go.
If you are enrolling in the HSA, then you have to re-enroll each year. But if you're in the HRA, then it will roll over. If you are making any changes, such as adding or dropping a dependent, or let's say you want to go into the local plus network, then you do have to go on to VBAS to make that change.
If we already have the dependents on there, then
Yes, if you have dependents on and you're not making any changes to that HRA, then yes, you don't have to go back on.
Either way,
we got a
you need to turn you need to turn this in. Okay.
Question in the back.
So, I think we can know that we need about 10 years not being married.
Domestic partners are covered, can be covered. Remember, there is something called imputed income. That's a tax that you would have to pay if you add your domestic partner. Imputed income. You can check with your tax consultant, and since it's tax time, you can check with them and see what that looks like for your domestic partner.
There's another about HSA and HR with Cigna, and you need to sign up for one or the other for it to roll over. What about Kaiser? Do you need to take any action if you're a Kaiser member?
Yeah, we keep talking about HSA contributions, FSA contributions. Question was, what if you're with Kaiser? Do you have to change any kind of contribution? No, you do not, because that is employer money that's going into that for you.
Good question. Thank you.
So what's remaining the same? You still, we talked about the plans. You still have your long-term disability for exempt employees, life, basic life, as well as voluntary life insurance. We have Sun Life accident and critical illness plans, and your employer contributions are remaining the same. We'll get into that when we talk about the actual plans. The Affordable Care Act. The only thing I want to touch on in regard to the Affordable Care Act is there's been some employees who believe that this plan is unaffordable to them. So there's been talk about going to Covered California and getting a subsidy to help pay your premiums. And what I need to tell you is this plan is affordable for you because it is you as employees that the law says needs to be affordable. Okay, it means it may not cost you more than 9.78% of your income to pay for your premiums, but you have zero cost options. So it's definitely affordable, and so you may not go and get a subsidy on Covered California. If you go online, it'll allow you to put in whatever you want, and you can get one. But at tax time, then they'll come back and say, hey, look, you had an employer plan, and then I've seen people get dinged for like $9,000 in back premiums that they owe. So we want to make sure you don't get in that situation.
As of March 1st, your HRA plan will begin again, will be reset, and your HSA as far as your out-of-pocket maximum and your deductible. And that plan will run for the next 13 months. On the HRA plan, the employer fund will also go in on March 1st. Now, there will be a disruption in your debit card for 7 business days, and that is so that Cigna can work in their system to get all the changes made. Also, and your FSA will also have a 7 business day disruption on March 1st. Then again on April 1st, both your FSA and your HSA will have a 7-day business disruption on your debit card. So be aware of that. Your HSA funds will have no funding during the month of March. Also, your FSA will have no funding during the month of March. It's basically a silent month while we go through the change from your plan being a March 1st to an April 1st effective. So during those 7 days, if you need to use services, if it's unavoidable, you can either ask the pharmacy to give you a few days of prescription to get you by until your debit card's turned on again. And if you go to the doctor, ask them if you can come in back and pay with your debit card if they're asking for payment up front. Ask them if you can pay it once your debit card is working again, or you can ask for a payment plan, and that will help make your plan that day more affordable.
Question?
That's only if you have the HSA, right?
Or the FSA.
The HRA doesn't.
No, the HRA is going to be impacted for the first 7 business days of March. So we're almost through that. Okay.
So it's a little odd. It's because of the transition. Carriers don't transition by giving a 13-month time period versus a 12-month. So it's an IT issue that they're doing coding, and essentially what they've done is if you're on the HRA your money has been put into your account. Your account is loaded for the next 13 months, essentially. So you got your money early, essentially. Yes.
Do we use the same debit card or they're gonna mail us new?
You'll use the same card,
The
right?
ID number is the same, the debit card's the same.
And even if you move from the HRA to the HSA, you're going to use the same one because they use your identification number. Yes.
Can you use this benefit yours funds on the HRA or HSA card to pay for services from the previous year
The HRA,
or the HSA?
okay, so they all work a little bit differently.
Okay.
So the HRA with Cigna, it rolls over from year to year, okay? And so if you have expenses from earlier in the year and you didn't use your debit card for whatever reason, you can turn in a reimbursement claim form and get reimbursed for that. On the HSA, the bank account money is always in there for you because it's your account, okay? And the FSA, we'll be talking about the FSA in a minute, okay?
Same scenario, what if you ran out of funds on your debit card? Can you use your new funds to pay previous services? If you run out of funds?
If you run out of
I'm going to
funds,
say yes because your card is now reloaded.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so,
You have a question over here.
okay.
money, yes.
So does that mean that there's not gonna be any fees taken out of the check or like?
That's
Correct.
correct. Yes.
Correct. So the money that the question was because March is a silent month. If I have $100 a month coming out of my check in order to go into my HSA, it is not going to be coming out that month.
Okay.
And it'll restart because it's all IRS regulated, and therefore we're going with the 12-month time period.
Now, the money out of your deduction that you paid for your benefits will continue. It's just the HSA bank.
Yeah, premium still being paid
Premiums.
by the employer and by you because you're still
You
covered.
have benefits.
You're still covered. It's just the additional monies that come out of your check that you're using to offset your out-of-pocket expenses. That's not coming out of your check, just your premium dollars.
Right, that's under the additional that you chose to put in.
Yes, that's correct.
Correct. Okay, so with Cigna, we have a program called Motivate Me and Healthy Rewards. There's a whole bunch of things that are online that are additional benefits for you. Whether it be fitness club memberships, smoking cessation programs, which the employer is even picking up any of your out-of-pocket expenses for that program. Weight management, hearing care, all of those things. So in the smoking cessation programs, both Cigna and Kaiser have options. And they're personalized plans. You can have counseling. We know that stopping, you have coaching programs, self-paced programs and tools and resources. You have quite a few programs on both the Kaiser side and the Cigna side. Let's say that part of your program is a prescription or the gum, and those are covered by the program. Okay, your employer wants you to be as healthy as possible. We know that's a healthy way to go. So those programs are being added for your benefit this year. I highly suggest you take advantage. And then with Cigna, how many of you have gotten money back for doing healthy rewards this last year? Hey, we've got some hands up. Good. When I say money back, how did you get it? What form?
Macy's.
A Macy's card, or you can get a gift card. You can choose various gift cards. Okay, so the maximum amount you can get in a year is $200 for each of you sitting in this room. And if you have a spouse, they can also get $200. It's unfortunate that only 2 of you have taken advantage of that. But how many have had your annual physical? If you've gotten your annual physical, all you need to go do is go online and turn it in, and your preventative exam or your OBGYN exam, you get $75 for doing that, okay? Your employer wants you to do that, wants you to be proactive with your own health. If you do an online health assessment where you ask questions like, what's your diet? How many vegetables are you eating? How many servings are you eating per day? Fruits? How much are you exercising? Do you smoke? How many drinks do you have in a week? And those kind of things. And they'll give you some ideas of things that you should pay attention to be more healthy. For doing that, you get $25 in gift card. And then any of those health coaching programs are also available. And then there's the self-reported wellness activity. What's something that you could self-report that's a wellness activity?
8 hours of sleep.
Sleeping, yeah, absolutely. I have determined to track my own sleep. That's one that a lot of people wouldn't think of.
Gym membership?
Gym membership, yeah. I got a gym membership. It's costing me this. You get $50 for doing that. Okay.
Walking.
Yeah, I want to track my steps. I'm trying to get 10,000 steps a day. It's perfect. Can you lie? Nobody's auditing your health. Only you are. So I don't suggest doing it that way.
It's hurting you, right?
But
because it's bad for your health.
But it is there for you to be thinking about it.
Only for Cigna?
It is attached to the Cigna plan, yes. Okay, so the employer contributions, you just heard about how you're getting 6% into your retirement plan. They're also funding your plans. Your HRA with Cigna has a $3,000 deductible. The employer is paying the first $1,500 toward that. If you have a family, it's a $6,000 deductible. They're paying for the first $3,000. That money rolls over. If you don't use that money and you stay in that HRA plan, that money rolls over. Okay? If you were to leave, that money stays. Okay, that's not your money. That's your money to use for expenses while you're on the Cigna HRA. I want to be clear about that. The HSA. The HSA is less premium. It has lower deductibles. But the difference is you pay for all of the money up front. It comes from you. So, because of that, your employer is paying $75 if you're an employee only. $100 if you have a spouse or children, and $175 going into your HSA if you have a family. It's super rich. It's a great thing. That's $2,100 a year toward your deductible. And then the employer is matching another $50. So if you do $50 into your HSA, they will match an additional $50. So that's $2,700 they will give you over the next 12 months in order to go toward your deductible.
And on the
How
back,
many of you paid less than that in healthcare this year? You don't have to raise your hand. But a lot of people do. So that money is your money, remains in your account, rolls over every year. Even if you leave, if you retire, that's your money in that HSA bank account. Okay?
and each portion of the HSA money is described on the back of the deduction.
And because it all comes out pre-tax and it grows tax-free and it comes out tax-free, it's the only thing. It's better than your 401k because that money is taxed on the back end. or if you're in the Roth, it's taxed on the front end. This money is never taxed as long as it's used for medical expenses. Yes?
The HSA plan rolls over.
The,
Does the HRA roll over?
the HRA rolls over, but it's attached to the plan. Okay? But the HSA, that's your bank account. That's yours.
Even if
Little-
you left the company, you take it with
Okay, so we're going to talk about the plans real quickly.
you. On page 5.
You can see it better on page 5. So the HRA you've had in place for a long time, it has a $3,000 deductible, which when you look at that, it sounds like it's not a very rich plan because that's a pretty high deductible, but it's a very rich plan, and here's why. The employer's putting in $1,500. It actually went in on March 1st on your behalf. So if you go spend $800, it's covered because you still have $1,500 to use. After that $1,500 is used up, you pay from $1,500 to $3,000. Okay, let's say you have a surgery and it's $5,000. First $1,500 is covered. You pay the next $1,500, and then it's covered 100% beyond that. The only other things that you have to pay for are your $20 office visits, specialist visits, telehealth visits. I just in my office as I was leaving, Sue in my office said, "Hey, I might not be here when you get back. I'm not feeling well." I just called telehealth. I ordered a prescription, and she doesn't even have to go into the doctor. This was just like 2 hours ago. Yes.
On the HRA, if you the same issue where you get the card that's not here, you use that for prescriptions, that's what $1,500 is.
Yes.
You see that being rolled over, and that's whatever's there.
Yes.
Although prescriptions are not part of that card. Prescriptions have a copay. $10, $40 for brand name, and $60 for the high dollar brand name.
So I think using the card, I think that prescription, it takes $10. It's no longer.
Are you with Kaiser?
You can use that
You
card.
can use it, yeah.
Medical
Right. It's any medical expense.
Yeah, we changed that. That's good. We changed that.
Well, you changed it where it still picks it up, or it no longer picks it up.
They should still pick it. It picks
It picks it up. Okay.
It picks it up.
And then notice that left-hand side of page 5, it says OAP HRA and Local Plus HRA. They're exactly the same plan. But what's the difference?
Cheaper.
Local Plus is cheaper. And I'll tell you, in this area, what it does is it cuts out Sutter. And they're not just Sutter, but that's a big one. So if you go to Sutter, it will not be in the Local Plus. You'll want to stay in the OAP. If you don't I don't use Sutter. All of my doctors, including my wife's OBGYN, including my pediatrician, that when my kids were going to a pediatrician, they're all, my heart doctor, they're all in the local network. So if I were you, it would work for me because it's a lower cost option. So that's what you want to do. The one thing I couldn't figure out was if my heart doctor was in there. And the easiest way to do it is just to pick up the phone and call him. But you can look online. Sometimes it's a little bit more difficult, but both are available to you.
And mycigna.com is not available right now because we're going through this disruption. So go to cigna.com, okay? And make sure that you put in the Local Plus network.
And if you plug in your zip code, it will tell you the doctors that are available in your area.
So if you're on this local and you have to go to UCSF or UC Davis or something like that, will it cover that or no?
UC Davis is not in the Local Plus network.
This is
UCSF.
UCSF is in the Local Plus network. Stanford is in the Local
Okay, so
Local Plus
UCSF
network.
is-
You still have world class options.
Okay.
It's just they pull out some of the options that are more expensive. Therefore, they can pass those savings on to you.
If I go, it's supposed to go back.
And then
Look up each of the doctors to make sure.
it's just like every other plan. You always want to check the network and make sure you know if your doctors or the choices that you want are in the network.
We're not going over the out-of-network benefits because remember, your dollars go much further if you stay in network.
The HSA plan is on the right-hand side. It has a $2,000 deductible. You have any dependents, that goes to $4,000. Okay, so I have a family, my deductible would be $4,000. The difference, if you just look and say, hey, that's a lower deductible than the HRA. Why is it cheaper? Well, because on the HSA, you're responsible for all of your expenses up to that amount. Okay, so if you're by yourself, it's $2,000. If you have dependents, you pay for the first $4,000. Why would that be okay? Well, if the employer's helping you with the first $2,700, it may make a lot of sense to you. Okay. After you hit the deductible, it goes into coinsurance, where the plan picks up 80% and you're responsible for 20%. Until, as an individual, you hit $6,000, or as a family, you hit $12,000. Okay. I'm a huge fan of HSAs because I like the fact that I self-fund some of it. I put some of my own money away, and I get to take it with me if I move along. Some years are really good, and my HSA goes up. Some years are like 2020. 2020, in the first 2 months, I already hit my $7,000 deductible. It's one of those bad years, but I have money in my account to help me pay for that. Or actually, this year we don't have all of that money in there. So what happens then? All we do, my wife had to get an MRI. We say to the facility, look, can we pay for this as our HSA money comes in? We're about $400 or $500 a month is going into it. And I have yet to have somebody say no to that, okay? As long as you're gonna pay them. So if you're fearful about going to the HSA because you don't have $2,000 or $4,000 in that account on day one, it's usually okay. They'll take payment plans. Any question on the HSA? On the back of your deduction form, we have built in kind of some calculators and the maximums. I skipped over the slide on the maximums, but the maximum for an individual is $3,550 in 2020 and $7,100 for those that have dependents or for family. Video doctor visits. I just mentioned that Sue just used hers. I had the flu, was about a month ago. I called Teladoc, said, look, I can tell I'm getting feverish. I don't really want to go to the doctor if I don't have to. I talked to a doctor. Okay, I was speaking with the doctor, and she said, yeah, sounds like the flu. I will order Tamiflu. My wife went down to Walgreens, picked it up. It all took about an hour. I didn't have to leave the house, and Tamiflu kind of took on. I basically, I didn't feel great the next day, but I didn't get knocked out by the flu. How many of you have used telehealth? Okay, I'm telling you, it's really, really slick. So what we tried to convince you last year is, and I'll do it again, it's much better if you go online and register first, because they want some background information on who you are, because that doctor is going to pull up your info. Okay, if you're diabetic, that doctor needs to know that. So there's certain things that they're going to ask you to do when you register. If you don't, and you've got a migraine and you need help, it's not the time to be going on and registering. You're just not going to be willing to do that. You're going to end up going to the emergency room and spending a lot more money, or going to urgent care and sitting in the waiting room with a lot of other sick people. So I would highly suggest that you do that.
And the steps are described on page 16.
We know that Kaiser's been doing this forever. Okay, they're the original people for talking to your doctor either via the phone or email, and there's no cost to that. So that's still in place. So with Cigna, there are actually two different companies that you can sign up with that are their telehealth video visits. And HRA members, it's $20 copay. Same as going to the doctor. It's just a lot faster and easier. HSA, it's $55, and that's because the IRS says, hey, this is a high deductible plan. We have to charge you more than the $20. Okay, so on this, this talks about Amwell and MD Live as your two options. Signing up is easy, but I suggest you do it ahead of time.
And it's $11 after the deductible has been satisfied on the HSA.
So I'm going to skip over the mycigna.com mobile app, but everything is, with those of you that have the mobile app, you know that you can look up how much have I spent this year, how much more do I have on my deductible, how much is in my HRA, how much is in my HSA, all those things that you can find right there on your smartphone. Flip phoners, you're on your own. Sorry. So the contributions, now we jumped over to Kaiser. Kaiser has a lower deductible. So in that, with a $1,500 deductible, the employer's picking up the first $600. For a family, it's $1,200. That goes on to the Benny card. Okay. Remind you, this has not changed. It's been this way forever. The Kaiser money doesn't roll over. It's just not the way the plan is designed. So Kaiser HRA funds are reloaded annually, whether you use them or you don't. We have super news for those of you that have been with Kaiser, and your plan is always renewed in March, and this year it's going to renew in April. But tell them what's happening, Julie.
Okay, so every year your deductible resets in January, and your out-of-pocket maximum has reset in January. So we were able to negotiate with Kaiser because your funds don't go in until last year March, this year April. We've negotiated and asked Kaiser to change that so that it resets on April 1st of each year. However, this year, we were able to say, hey, we don't want it to reset in April. And they agreed to that. So your deductible and out-of-pocket maximum will continue through until next March. So it'll go from January 1st of this year through March 30th of next year. So it will reset April of 2021.
So if I were on that plan, I already told you I hit my $7,000 in the first 2 months. If I was with Kaiser, I would have hit my out of pocket, and that means I would have coverage all through the rest of this month, and then starting in April all the way to next April, I would have used up all of my out of pocket maximum. So it's a super nice benefit to you. In fact, they never do this. They never move it like this. They didn't even know how to price it. Finally, they said, oh, heck, we'll just give it to you. So that was pretty great. So on that plan, $1,500 deductible, $3,000 if you have dependents. For preventative care, just like on all plans, how much do you pay for physicals? $0. They're free. That's the law. They want you to go get your physical. Doctor's office visits are $20 after the deductible. Lab and radiology is $10 copay after the deductible. Outpatient surgery, 20% after the deductible. Hospitalization, 20% after the deductible. Very rich plan, with the employer picking up the first $600 or $1,200 per family. No changes on that plan. So I think those of you that are on it, you're very familiar. Obviously, they have online mobile capabilities as well to do all the tracking. Any Kaiser questions? Okay, so we're moving on to the dental plan. If you remember, last year we added this orange piece, and that is the child orthodontia coverage up to age 19. That has a $1,500 lifetime limit. So if you have kids that need braces, they cost more than $1,500. But this is $1,500 that you can put towards that. And the other thing that I want to talk about is the maximum benefit is $1,500. So if you need $20,000 worth of dental work, well, the plan pays for $1,500. But if you don't use any in a year, the next year that max will bump up to $1,750, and then the next year, if it keeps rolling over, if you don't use up and you have leftover funds,
As
it
long
would be
as-
$2,000 in the next year and all the way up to $2,250. So it's a growing amount of maximum, which is a great thing. But there's one caveat that Julie was talking about.
As long as you go to the dentist and get your cleaning each year.
Okay, if you don't go get your cleaning, they're not going to increase your maximums. Why is that? Because you're a ticking time bomb. If you're not taking care of your teeth, eventually you're gonna need more work. So they say, take care of yourself, we'll up your benefit. Okay, it's a great plan. Vision.
All right, so under your vision plan, we have the same benefits. You get an exam every 12 months. You get lenses every 12 months, and then you can get frames or contacts every 24 months. But the allowance this year is going up to $180. So that's whether you get contacts or you get frames. It's either or, it's not both, right? You know that, right? And if you go out of network, and you have to turn in a claim form and get reimbursed for out of network, those allowances have also increased up to either $144 for the contacts or up to $100 for the frames.
Is
Yes.
Costco in our network?
It is not, but that would be an out of network, and Costco has great discounts that they get. So even the $100 would go pretty far. But again, you'd have to turn it in with the claim form.
It has to be
reimbursement.
either or. You can't do the
You can't use
network
both.
and then use.
Right. Okay, that's right. Any questions on your vision plan?
Okay, so you all have basic life insurance that the employer is picking up. That's for 1 times your salary. A minimum of $50,000, and then a maximum of $250,000. So if your salary is $1 million, maxes out at $250,000. Sorry. And then you have voluntary that you can buy above that. Okay, you have guarantee issue of up to $150,000. That's the first time you're eligible for the plan. After that, we say this every year. After it's because this plan has been in place, I've been on the plan for 2 years, and I decide I better go get some more insurance. If I want life insurance at that point, then I have to answer some medical questions. As long as it's not a big deal, but there's 5 or 6 questions, and then you have to be insurable. So if I have cancer, I'm not going to get that insurance at that time. It's the first time that you're eligible.
So basically, it's for new hires. only.
It's for new hires only. Yep. And to find out exactly how much it costs you, go into VBAS, plug in 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. By $10,000 increments, you can find out exactly how much it would cost you and see if it works out for you.
So pet insurance. We have one pet insurance and one pet membership discount program. Nationwide pet insurance is the one that has the full insurance. And you can, there's actually 3 different co-insurances, 3 different plans that are offered. And you can get the highest one is up to 90% off of the vet bills. It's exclusive to you. This is not the kind of program that's available to the general public. It comes out of you can make it as a payroll deduction, and you get the same price for pets of all ages. If you go onto the website, www.petInsurance.com/WREWBP, and this is a link in VBAS under resources. If you look there, you'll see this link. And if you click on it, then you can enroll your pets. And there's also a wellness option that you can add on to it if you'd like to. It's an easy enrollment process. First, you select the type of species, dogs, cats, or there's other animals too. And you provide your zip code and you pick your plan. There's a helpline 24/7, and you can submit your claims using your smartphone. So you pay for it up front, and then you submit your claim with your receipts, and you get reimbursed. The next slide is United Pet Care. And this one is, like I said, a membership discount program. Under this plan, all pets are eligible. There's no exclusions due to age, pre-existing conditions, or breeds. It's a guaranteed savings between 20 to 50%, depending on one of the 3 plans that you select. And the cost for these plans is less. So if you have multiple pets that you want to enroll, this may be a better program for you. There's 3 plans. There's the preferred program, the select program, the partner program. Again, if you go onto VBAS and you go to resources, you'll see a link to United Pet Care, and you can make your enrollment choices. So depending on the program, there's different discounts and different, it's a totally different program, okay?
Okay, so a couple years ago, we added accident insurance and critical illness. The accident insurance is above and beyond any other of your plans. If you're in an accident, it will cover, it'll pay you to help you pay for the expenses. So for instance, a hospital admission, it's gonna cost you out of your pocket, it would pay $1,000. $250 per day if you're confined in the hospital for overnight. Anytime you have to use the emergency because of an accident, $150 goes toward it, and all these other options. So you'll see that it's $3.70 for an employee per week, and then it's $902 for your family. You can determine if that makes sense. Makes sense for a lot of people, especially if you have kids playing sports and that type of thing.
It has to be an accident under that plan. My son has an accident program, and he hit his head and ended up with a blood clot, and he was in surgery within 5 hours. He happened to be in a hospital when he hit his head, and he, out of that accident program that he had, he was paid, it paid for his entire deductible. So it's definitely worth it to consider adding that accident program.
Critical illness pays for various critical illnesses. I just talked to an employee who had he was paying for the $5,000 option. He had a stroke, and he got a check for $5,000 to help pay for his expenses. So you choose an amount from 5,000 up to 20,000, and then you can do up to 50% of that for your dependents. So maybe you want to choose $10,000. You have, if you're diagnosed with cancer or ALS, or you have a stroke or a brain tumor, you can look up the list of what applies, and if that happens, it'll help you cover those out-of-pocket costs. It is based upon, so there's 27 major illnesses. You can see what they are, and then it's age rated. Okay, so you can go on to VBAS once again and plug in $10,000 and see how much it costs. See if it makes sense to you.
When we go back, we skip the FSA. When we go back to the FSA. Okay, so under the FSA plan, it will be a 12-month plan. And so your benefits just ended with your FSA as of the end of February. During the month of March, as we said before, there will be no FSA contributions that you can put into the plan. That will begin on April 1st when you make your election. As you'll recall, you have some extra time to turn in your receipts, and that begins as of the end of February. So you have the month of March and April to turn in those receipts to make sure you use up as much money as you can. Now, the other thing is that you can roll over up to $500, and remember that. And so you have that opportunity to roll over up to $500, and that's it.
Question? Yes.
Up to.
HSA is yours.
It's yours.
You don't have to use it.
Right.
FSA, what we always say with FSA is it's use it or lose it.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of guess at what you're going to do. HSA is a much better option in that you don't have to use it. You can max it out if you want.
It's your account.
I have a question.
Sure.
That last bullet point, you say you have until April 30 to use your FSA funds.
That started at the end of February. That's 60-day period.
But our plan goes through March.
Correct, but this was for last year's 12-month plan, which ended in March.
Because
And this is our silent month.
because it can only go 12 months and it began.
But you can, okay. You
That's
can
an
still use-
IRS.
You can still use it through the 3.
Yes.
So it looks a little different because of our new plan year starting in April, but the clock started ticking on March 1.
Okay, so back to housekeeping. We're on the last 2 pages. Thank you, Rick. So remember that you must turn in, we'll go through just some tips. So first, remember that if you want to look up your providers during open enrollment and decide if you want to go with the full network or the local plus network, and it's really important that you make sure that you're always using an in-network provider. The second is that preventive care is free, and remember you get that $75 if you go to Cigna for your rewards, and use your generic prescriptions whenever they're available. Use mail order. All of those can help save you some dollars. And ER visits, only go to ER when you have a life-threatening illness, and otherwise use either telehealth or urgent care. So know where your facilities are and go to telehealth in advance. You must turn in your deduction form by March 13th. And when you go to VBAS, you can go to VBAS up through March 15th, midnight of March 15th, which is a Sunday. So you have that extra weekend to go to VBAS. okay, and make any changes.
And Carol is reminding us, make sure you turn in your deduction forms.
By March 13th. And your medical waiver if you're waiving medical coverage.
Any questions? Yes.
So what if I want to sell the same medical fund that I have right now, but I'm thinking actually?
If you're enrolled in the HSA, you do have to take action, right? But the HRA, if you're keeping the same dependents, not making any changes, then no.
You are turning in this form no matter what.
And the FSA never rolls over. You have to start again. You have to choose a new election amount every year.
Yes.
On the life insurance, spouse, children, if you go 50% of but at what point does the spouse have to have medical care? Is it 50,000? Is it 100,000? At what point?
It's going to be from the.
If
The
you're
question
not
was-
a new hire,
The question was, if it's a spouse or dependent and you want to get life insurance on them, when do they have to answer medical questions? And if you're a new hire, it's up to 50% of what the employee does, which could be 150 for the employee. So I believe it's 75,000 for. It might be 50. It might be
the
less than
guarantee issue amount, I believe, is 25,000.
$25,000 for a spouse.
Guaranteed, yes.
So over and above that, they fill out the medical form, and then you can increase it to 150,000.
Correct.
So 50,000 below, no medical information above that.
25. 25.
25.
Yes, but that's if you are a new hire. Let's say you've been here for 3 years and you never enrolled your spouse.
Yes.
Your spouse is subject to medical questions at this point. Any other questions?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Once they have the Social Security and legal case, is that fine? You guys have them on record, right? You have them on record.
I do not.
And remember, the last 2 pages of your booklet explains how to go to VDOS, and your ID number explains what that is, and you can always reset your password if you don't remember.
Alrighty, so we want to thank everybody for coming down. Thank you. For those of you that joined us through your phone or your computer, thank you as well too. Please let us know if you guys have any questions. So as a reminder, we have until the 15th of the month to get this going. If you guys have any questions from now till then, please make sure to reach out to us, either by mail or the phone number if we're on your site. Come visit us as well too. We're here at your service for whatever you guys may need.
You're not making any
Thank you both so much.
I was sorry, I was moving around, but trying to get this picture where I can see.
I know, I had it on my phone. We had some participants, which is good. We had some participants that like
It was fluctuating between 5 and 9 to 7. Yeah. The most I saw was 9.
Good. Thank you.
I didn't